and welcome to Coffee with CA. Today we have CA Sanjib Sanghi with us.
All right, let me share you a story where, a real life example. It happened just maybe 4 or 5 years back. It actually got shaped up in the year 2003 when I finally took a decision that yes, I want to go overseas. I want to see how things are going to work and I will make it happen.
I've heard about Bhavishya, Kiran, that you started that. It's your brainchild.
So I was looking for, something which excites me, which motivates me, and
it's going to be a special on this episode.
Automation was always something which I always wanted to do.
Our next segment, which is going to be beyond balance sheet.
They want to take a print and want to, tick mark each and everything
I
before.
like this.
They don't want to work on a PDF file.
I want to start off this tradition.
Getting things on cloud and many other stuff.
How often do we come across the journey of a chart accountant? Well, they are the ones that deep dive right into the numbers and all things finance and also audits. But little do we know their journey and their story as to why they are and who they are. We are excited to shine light on them. And I'm your caffeinated host, Geena Bharwani, and welcome to Coffee with CA. Today we have CA Sanjib Sanghi with us. He's been a regular on stages sharing his entire knowledge about digitalization, automation, and cloud computing. He is all of this while being an author on the side. So let's get started and dive deep into this conversation over a cup of coffee. Welcome to Coffee with CA. Hello, Sanjib. And it's really nice to have you on the show. And while I was giving my introduction also, I realized that, there's a blend of finance as well as a blend of technology. So tell me what got you started when you, was it finance? Was it technology? How did you start off?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Hi, Geena. And it's I'm very happy to be on this show, coffee with you. And I guess when you're talking about blending of finance with technology, that instinct was always there.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I, cleared my graduation, I started thinking, automation. And 25 years back, in the way back in 96, 98, nobody was talking about that at that time. And, blending, as you have rightly used the word blending, I think I always used to say that if you just go with vanilla, you always like vanilla, right? But once you make it a tutti frutti, once you make it a 2-in-1, like you remember the old days when we had 2-in-1, and so the career is also like that. If you blend finance with technology, you come up with a very unique combination, and you differentiate yourself, you stand out. And you actually go back to the organization and say, hey, we can give value to your business. We are not just being a cost center for you. We are a profit center for you because we help you reduce your cost by bringing more efficiencies, by bringing more optimizations, and also help in understanding and take decisions. Because if I blend technology with finance, then what is going to happen is, I can give them data, converting that into information, and that too in the most efficient time.
So you started off in finance, or can you give me a little background about that?
Well, so I will not go very back, but as I qualified in 98, I started my practice and I wanted to do a job. So I started looking around and I saw that, the practitioners, the CA firms and everyone were doing income tax practice, and
Correct.
More so of, filing tax returns, doing tax audits. So I also started filing tax returns, at those times, there were no online filings.
Correct.
So at times, during the last day, we used to stand in long queues. Personally, I used to stand and I used to file the return for my client.
Mm-hmm.
I said, this is not something which I want to do.
Okay.
And somehow, some way, I got fascinated with, working with the entire world. And I said, let's, bring more technology. So I started with finance, which I will say more on taxation.
Mm-hmm.
Finance was again not a very, as you say, the way we define finance today was not there 25 years ago. More of a tax practice. And
so Sanjib ji, when you graduated, it would have just been probably the late 90s and early 2000s. So how did that help you? Because that time India was just opening up to a global market. You see a lot of foreign entities coming in that time. So how did you make the best use of it, or what was your opinion at that point of time?
So, as I said, I was not very happy with what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first step. So I was looking for, something which excites me, which motivates me, and working for international client was always a big motivation for me at that time. Automation was always something which I always wanted to do because, I always believed in once you do a setup, then you don't need to do things again and again. It should happen automatically. But then I don't know how to go about it. I was not aware of how should I take this forward. I don't had those means, those financial resources to, travel, meet people and do this. So somehow, some way, I got into a journey wherein I got connected with one of the client. And he was also like, not, very comfortable or very confident that whether this is going to work or not, because we were at 30,000 miles away. Okay. And it was a big turnaround time difference, time zone difference, the cultural differences. And we started with the very basic work of, maybe one of the restaurant who was doing a write-up. So he was sending me a small PDF file. And I used to see that, and I used to do a manual bank entries for those transactions. So that's how the journey started. And I said, this is something which can be scaled up. The journey started, the thought process started late 97, 98, but then it actually got shaped up in the year 2003 when I finally took a decision that yes, I want to go overseas. I want to see how things are going to work, and I will make it happen.
So, let me do a throwback to you. Tell me all about 2003 when you went overseas.
Yeah, those were times I still remember this, maybe 20 years back. And there were no financial means. Internet was not so easy. Okay. The phones were not there.
Yeah.
So I took a loan to go US, and I just had the travel ticket. I didn't had any place to, stay. I had no other plans, just to meet one single person who I have never seen. I've only spoken over the phone, and I've been working with him for maybe 3 or 4 months, spoke to him for just few intervals, and I called him and said, I'm coming to US. I'm going to meet you. I'm going to meet other people as well, and make it work. I said, yeah, please come on. So I went over there. First time I was catching a flight to international trip, and I was landing in New Jersey. And I was there, and he was waiting at the airport, and he was seeing someone very dark, tall guy, just looking around, seeing the entire world. And he said, you're Sanjeev? I said, yeah. So he took me to his place, and there the journey started, wherein, whatever I was doing, whatever he was sending me, he was doing much more than what he was sending me. And as an accountant, I started observing what he was doing. And I said, we can do this. And when I was observing, I said, yeah, we can do this for you. Oh, you can do this for us? I said, yes. And then we started picking up work. So I was there for 6 months. When I returned back, I started with $200 per month. When I returned back after 6 months, my start return was $3,000 per month.
That's great. So you went from $200 per month to $3,000 per month.
Yeah, and way back in 2003.
Yeah. So that would have been a motivational boost for you.
Huge. Yeah. And the best part was, when you are doing this work, you know that you can automate that, you can multiply it.
Correct.
See, when you talk to a professional and when you talk to other people, they are not able to multiply things because, it's all skilled job, it's all intellectual job, it's all one-time job. So every time you get a new case study, you get a new reports and everything. But in our case, what was happening is, we understood and we templated everything. So in these 6 months, we started templating, and one very important aspect which I wanted to share with you, and that is something which accountant needs to learn and understand, is we picked up an industry. We used to do work for restaurants, we used to work for many other companies, but then we decided we only want to work for pest control industry.
Oh, so that was your particular niche.
So yeah, not my niche. It was my CPA who was into a pest control industry before actually getting into a CPA firm. So he qualified as a CPA. did a couple of years. Then he started his own pest control industry. He worked there. He started his own company. He sold that for a good valuation. So he got the entire, technical know-how about that industry. And then he sold that company, and he was living a very comfortable life. After that, he met me.
Oh, okay.
So he was now doing small little work. And then when we met together, so he said, let's build something around pest control industry. So what we did is we started, basically building all the difficulties which this industry face from the finance perspective, from the accounting perspective, from the knowledge perspective. And we tried creating solutions for them. Today, let me tell you, all my clients in US are pest control companies.
Oh, so you came back to India, probably 2003, 2004, after your stint over there in the US. You brought back all your learnings over here. Was it accepted by people, or was it hesitation?
That was a piece of work. Yeah, when I came back, now I'm used to, I was there for 6 months. I was, working with them. I was talking. In fact, I was dealing with their clients at that time. After 3 months, I was so used to. So I came back, and I had a very small team of maybe 3 or 5 people, and it was not easy to make them understand the expectations. So the expectation was not towards, how intelligent you are.
Correct.
It was more on how focused you are, how committed you are, how you are, maintaining your time zone, you're maintaining your commitment, your focus. There should be no error. It should be perfection. There should be a lot of perfection involved. So that cultural difference was there. That perfection, generally I felt at that time, and it depends on case to case. It was my personal experience as, we tend to, defer things until or unless it comes to us as a boiling point, or, or we tend to, in our practicing industry, we work like a fire engine. So unless and until the client is, and it's a deadline, it's the last day of the month, or something which is, which is something which we have to do, then we get on top of it and we try to get things done. And this $3,000 which I said was a monthly retainer which I started getting.
Yeah.
It was not the one-time investment. So now I got a work which I need to deliver every month. Correct. To get paid.
Yeah.
And to get that work, that was not a painful job. The job painful was to get that done in time. And then there was no internet. So I remember we used to take that computer, we used to go to a cyber cafe to get internet at times, because there was, so it was a lot of work at that time.
So what motivates you, Sanjib, to give back to society? Because you've been doing so much all across. Probably even in my introduction, I mentioned that. So what is your passion? Is that your passion project?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So we were talking about 2003, and then 9 years, right? I was in my comfort zone.
Okay.
And everything was automated. I owned a building, and I had people working, and things were automated. So I was 100% into my comfort zone. But I had no friends. I had, the feel of giving back.
Okay.
And I saw that when I was talking to a very newly qualified chartered accountant. The favorite question I used to ask them, all right, you have done your accountancy, you are now a CA, what's your next step, or what's your next goal, or what do you want to do? And trust me, let me tell you that majority, in fact, don't know what next. They just think that they want to go for a campus, they want to be picked up by a company, and they will just start working over there. So the passion, the passion of building your own, the passion of proving yourself, the passion of doing something different, you don't find. And I feel that when I'm talking to students, I think there is a huge demand of career counseling.
Okay.
And so when I became a regional council member, that's the first initiative I started taking of going back to schools and colleges, especially with those 11 and 12 standard, because that's the time when you really start thinking what you want to do next.
Correct.
I used to ask them, I used to help them, I used to show them, you need to drive your passion, you need to, start thinking on your goals of life, your vision, and how you should go about it, how should you get focused, how you should get motivated.
Yeah.
So I think students really came forward and said, sir, I have some questions. What if I do this? What if I don't do this? My parents are telling me to do this. My peers are telling me to do this. This is something which I really want to do. Is it something which I can do? Is it something which I can, I want to be a lawyer, but I also want to be a chartered accountant. Or I want to be a musician.
Mm-hmm.
Or I love painting, but I also want to do chartered accountants. And nobody's guiding us to do that. I said, yes, you can do it.
Yeah.
They said, how? I said, if you are a good painter or if you are a good artist and you still want to be a chartered accountant, you can work on branding a company.
Correct.
And no chartered accountants are doing that. You can become a system designer. You can become a system analyst. Where if you talk about a finance product, you can find a lot of programmers working on it. But a chartered accountant learning those programming languages or just a system design can help the programmers design the system of what actually the business wants. So I think the answer to your question is, that I always feel that if with that one word which I speak, if that change the life and a career of a student, I think that's a big. All right, let me share you a story where, a real life example. It happened just maybe 4 or 5 years back.
Definitely.
So there was a chartered accountant who qualified and, he joined the Big Four.
Okay.
And he was doing some data related work over there, some data analytics, and somehow, some way he was finding it, monotonous. So he was there for a couple of years. He left that job.
Okay.
And he wanted to do something on his own, and he started his own practice. When he went into the world of practice, again, so far as traditional practice of a CA firm, he started working on income tax, GST, and various other filing related works. And he was even not happy with that.
Okay.
Because he's saying, I'm not. Then he called me one day.
Okay.
And he said, you go to different schools and colleges and you mentor and counsel so many professionals. So can I have a 30 minutes time of yours? And he said, yeah, please do come in. And he came to my office and we had a similar coffee session. And he was saying, look, I have a very peculiar problem wherein I joined a corporate. I was not happy over there. I started my own practice. I'm still not happy over here. You please guide what I should do. So that was very tough for me, in this particular situation, what should I suggest? So it just came in my mind. I said, why don't you start becoming a data scientist and start doing on your own?
Okay.
I said, are you kidding? How will I get clients? Because this is one of the biggest questions which a chartered accountant has is, all right, I can do some specialization. I can do this. How will I get clients?
Correct. That would be anyone's question.
Anyone's question. So he said, well, those will go only to Big Four or to big corporates. Why will anyone come to me and give me a data analytics related job? Somehow, some way I convinced him and said, look, 80% of the people who are looking for data scientists can't afford Big Four. And only 20% afford them. So those 80% of the market is your market. I don't know what happened. We had the coffee, he went back. After that, I never knew, but he came back after 3 months and told me the entire story. He said that he went back to his place. He closed the door for 7 days. He was thinking. After 7 days, he stopped his practice. He dropped his practice, have given all his work back to the partners and said, I'm no more into this. You pay me X amount of money every year for a couple of years and then it's all yours. And then he started learning all this Tableau, Power BI, SQL, and he started walking through this journey of Python and all of that. And after 3 to 4 months, he came back to me and said, look, now I'm a data scientist. Now tell me what to do next. I said, well, this is again a challenge. I said, start meeting people. If you meet, 1 people a day, a corporate, an organization, and tell them your strengths, you're definitely going to go a long way. He started doing that. Today, and in another 3 to 4 months, he got a breakthrough. He went into a partnership with a company who was into, website development, mobile apps, and many other things for, clients across the world. So he went to him and they started a new division where he was a 50% partner. And he said, why don't I sell data analytics to your client? And if they get convinced, we'll share. Today he's making more and more than crores of rupees. He's running his own industry. He is the head of that. He's a partner of that division and he's loving his job. Don't know what to do next.
Yeah, I also noticed that, you do mentor a lot of the, the entire committee at EIRC.
Yeah.
And so how, and you've gotten a lot of change when it comes to even the journals that people read and probably an article that a student would read, and you've formed a team. So that is something which is
I think it has a lot to do with experience. So I think I've always learned, again with my background with working with US clients, is the impression makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
How you present yourself, how you give an experience to your client, how you give an experience to your employees, how you give an experience to the people around you. That makes a huge difference. I think accountant also needs to learn this.
Yeah. So you're a firm believer in the soft skills aspect make
Absolutely.
a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Right. So how do you bring that out into, say, smaller regions or areas or remote areas?
So more than the soft skills, I think the bigger requirement, soft skills definitely is a requirement,
Correct.
but more than that, I think, I always, so again, in the year 2012-13, I decided to, contest for elections, and I wanted to, give back to the profession. And so I used to go to seminars, and I used to talk about technology. I used to talk about, how you can automate your work, how you can go into the cloud.
Correct.
And at those times, people used to say, he is, he's crack.
They're apprehensive about it.
Very apprehensive. He is not talking of the real world. Real world today is tax audit. Real world today is, getting your compliance. What is he talking? And when they even believed in me, they said, client is never going to ask for these services, or client is never going to pay us for this. So you are working for, American clients, so maybe you might be having these opportunities, but you don't understand Indian market, you don't understand how Indian clients, work around, and they are very price sensitive. We have to follow up them, and we have to do so many things, and it's just about getting things done. So yes, soft skills, as you said, is important, but even more important than that is, how you can get yourself organized, how you can get your numbers at the click of a button, how you get to know what your team is doing. I always ask them 5 questions and they don't have any answers for them. Question number 1, do you know the open work of your organization? You talk to 90-95% of accounting firms today, they don't know. They might be having a broad idea, but they don't have exactly buy tickets, and that's where these software companies play a very major role in helping them, organizing them. They don't know the open works which is there in the organization. They don't know who is doing what. They don't know what's the actual account receivable as on today. They don't know. So it's again a fire engine. All right, 30th September is coming. What needs to be done? Let's bring all of them together. Let's do it. They don't have checklist. They don't have SOPs in their office. When you talk about standard operating procedures, when an article join in, it's simply as if, you go and you just start doing things. What is important today is, to organize them, to standardize them, to have an induction program. Most of the firms don't even have any joining letters for their employees. So all of these, again, I can go on and on and on, but all of these play a very major role today for accountants, chartered accountants to, start practicing upon, to give a new experience. And I think that is the most important reason, how you create a good experience or an impression to people around you.
So you help even the remotest of remote areas to help, get this kind of exposure, which is very much required for them.
Yeah, so we do organize a lot of seminars, workshops. In fact, I remember, we came up with a very interesting concept called 50-50.
Okay, I'm a little curious about it. Can you tell me about it? Going by the name.
Yeah, so that was something which I thought of, 50-50. So 50 things you need to learn in computers if you are over 50 years of age.
Okay.
So that was very highly appreciated when you talk about these senior chartered accountants. They always get to the mindset, this is not my cup of tea. This is something, I've lived my age, I've lived my life, and, I am more into consulting, and, technology is something which I'm not very keen to. That's
they
where
shy away from
very shy away about it, and they don't want to get into the uncomfortable. They want to be into their comfort zone.
Right, yeah.
They want to take a print and want to tick mark each and everything before. They don't want to work on a PDF file. Getting things on cloud and many other stuff. So for them, we organized a book with 50 chapters and small things, and we actually try to help them, work on computers. And so now what you have shown me is the way to know what is possible.
That's nice. Think. So you've also authored a book, The Digital Professional. What inspired you to write that? I'm sure like digital and the finance aspect of it, but what was your driving force?
So I don't know whether you have gone through that book or not.
I have actually a couple of
chapters. So it actually characterizes a character called Avijit.
Yeah.
And the purpose of this book basically was to give back to the profession, to those chartered accountants, to say, hey, go through this book and you relate yourself with this book, and then if you can follow these few advices which are given in the book, this will help you get organized. So when I talk about systems, when I talk about technology, I don't say that you need to go back and learn Java. You need to go back and learn those programming languages. I say you need to have a digital mindset. Everything which is happening in your organization, what is happening, how I can improvise on it, how I can make a difference on it. I think the attention is not going over there. The attention is more to get things done, the work done. And that, I think, is the gap, which is only going to be managed through, a mindset which is digital.
So you've digitized, probably helped a lot of chartered accountants digitize their firms, and probably even other companies too. What is one funny incident which you have come across, if you can share?
Okay, yeah. So I will not say very funny, but I'll just again talk about a mindset is, there was a company who was into, this practice management software.
Okay.
And I don't want to name that company, but they came up and they gave demo to, top 500 firms of the country. And, and they came back to me also. And they showed all the challenges which a CA firm is facing, and they say how beautifully, you can organize things, you can make reports, you get to know that who is working on what and how things are happening, who are the red clients, how much time is spent on each client or on each project, so how much are you charging, and how much is your rupees per hour rate, and all of that. So they have shown a perfect demonstration, and everybody started writing check. All right, we really want this. They took this software, they, put back to the office, they called the team and say, hey, we want this software for you, do it. Next year, that company went back to those firms and said, yeah, we are looking for a renewal. I said, no, we never started it. The software company, now they are saying, your software was not working, we never used your software, never used it because the team is coming back to us and saying whether you want to get things done or you want to put in the timesheet or you want to do all of that. So I think the message over here is you have to, get into that mud. The owner of the organization, you have to, give a role forward. You have to be the first person to go in and put in your timesheet before you ask your team to do that. You have to be the person, I would say, is accepting when I ask them the question, who is the biggest problem in your organization? That's the one question I openly ask in front of thousands of chartered accountants. Who do you think is the biggest problem in your organization? I know what answer I get.
That's very nice. The way you put it across, like, change comes from within. And unless we get into the grind or the mud.
I think adaptability, and so I always speak about three powerful words which I came up with, which is adapt, transform, and innovate. So when you first adapt to the change, you are basically, having an open mind. You are not blocked. You are ready to, look and explore things. And then you start transforming yourself into that. Something like you transforming yourself from a caterpillar to a butterfly. And then once you transform, then you start thinking of innovating in whatever you do. I go back to my organization and say, if you are doing the same thing which you had been doing 6 months back, you are doing nothing. If you are spending the same time which you had been, 6 months back, you have not improvised on that. You have not innovated new ways. You have not innovated on how I can convince my clients and make them always look more interesting. I think you're not doing a good role of yourself. So adapt, transform, and innovate.
So Sanjib, tell me I've heard about Bhavishya, Kiran, that you've started that. It's your brainchild. Can you explain to our viewers what exactly it is?
So again, as I said, I always feel that everyone has a potential. Some unique potential everyone has. And if we can identify or help them identify that potential, I think they can be a blossom, they can grow. So long back, I started this Bhavishya Kiran as a novel initiative wherein we provided free computer education to hundreds of students, in the villages and remote areas, and we opened centers, and we had students coming in, and we had a very small little registration fee, but we tried to, make them employable. We tried to make them employee ready. That was an initiative which was started, and I'm very happy I could take this move forward.
So I can literally say that, you're always giving back to society in some way or the other, whether it's through your webinars, through your books. I'm sure you might be coming up with something else also on the side, which eventually we'll get to see.
I can say one more initiative which I'm just doing, and it's on CA Shots.
Okay.
So it's in line with, like right now what's happening is there's a lot of digital clutter.
Correct.
And when you talk about clutter, it's loaded with information. So what we see in WhatsApp, and generally we see loads of, messages coming in, and notifications and deadlines, and, good mornings and flowers and everything. There's a lot of clutters coming in across all social media. So we built an app, which actually, try to, aggregate all financial information into a mobile app, and you can keep it silent, and you can watch it once in a day, and you just scroll in and you get all the updates related to, which is meaningful to a chartered accountant. I think one thing which I wanted to say, again, that was not a question, but I just wanted to say is, many other profession comes to me and say, you're so passionate, and not just about technology, you're also passionate about chartered accountant. Why? I see this as a very promising degree. I see this as a very affordable degree. I see this as a vanilla. And I see this, blended with so many other things which a person can do. So I really love the profession. I really love, being a chartered accountant. I'm proud to be a chartered accountant. And I see this, India be an accountant for the entire world. So
that's nice. So I've also heard, like a little birdie told me, that you're also helping out the MSME sector.
Yeah.
Would you want to elaborate on that?
Yes. So MSME, again, as said by our Prime Minister, is the biggest and the largest, backbone for our economy.
Correct.
And again, just like chartered accountants, MSME needs guidance. They need literacy, they need improvisation, they need support. Till today, I think not even 0.01% of the subsidies and schemes awareness are there with the MSME. Currently the Vice President of MSME Development Forum, West Bengal. And we are doing a lot of MSME Adda, we call it. It's like a group of MSME coming forward, and we try to train them, help them understand subsidies, schemes, and getting them loans, getting them benefits in terms of the creditors not paying them. So there are sections which allow them to file a case. So I think the future is MSME.
That's nice. So you're almost touching all sectors possible. That's nice. So you juggle multiple roles. How do you have time for your personal life, or how do you balance that out?
So I remember, again, it's related to my uncle.
Okay.
So I've seen him struggling, and after 10 or 15 years of struggle, he started making money and he was living a very comfortable life. So I was sitting next to him. And I was seeing him again very busy, trying to do this and this and this. And then I said, I've seen you doing the same thing 10 years back. And today also I'm seeing you doing the same thing. And now you're in a comfort zone. Why don't you relax and why don't you live a good personal life? He answered me very beautifully. And that is what I remember even today. He said, who told you that I'm not relaxed? This is my relaxation. So when I'm seeing a smile in the face of a student, when I'm seeing that I'm trying to give back and whatever I know, and the reason I'm giving back is someone has given me. It's not something which I have accumulated. Something, there's so many people around in this world who has helped me reach the position where I am today. So it's not something where I'm saying that, I'm giving back. It's something which I have taken as a loan and I'm just returning it back. So.
That's nice. So Sanjibji, I've also heard that you do a lot for both the genders. It's just not specific to one gender. So you also help women get back into the organizations after a break or so. So I would like to hear more about that.
Women are already empowered today.
Correct.
So let's not talk about that. But what the challenge is when I see chartered accountant female, especially from few communities, I would say my community, Bharwani community. Generally what happens is, they are very, curious and very excited about becoming a chartered accountant. They become a chartered accountant. They go for a job. And they work for a few years. They get married. They get into their social life. And somehow, some way, they have to give away the profession.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. Now, the goal and the objective is how we can bring them back to the profession, how we can help them work from home, how we can help them, work for maybe 4 to 6 hours, flexible hours, and be dependent on themselves. And I think that's where we have done a lot of workshops. We have done a lot of seminars on how we can. Actually work on their mind, because after that, that focus of, let's get this, let's get that, getting busy with their social life, with their household work, with managing their social family and all of that, they somehow lose focus towards the career or take that as the second or the third priority. And when they go back to the world or go back to the organization to do work, they have a couple of fears in their mind. One is they feel that they are not updated.
Okay.
They feel that they are not relevant. They feel they are not confident. And they feel that they will not be able to give that commitment of timelines. So we have to together work on, building that confidence in them that yes, you had done it and you can do it. They are very dedicated. They are the best. So the challenge is to bring them back, giving them that ignite so that they can pull off.
All right. That's amazing, Sanjibji. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much
much.
for this conversation. And I want to start off this tradition. It's going to be a special on this episode where I would like for you to write a question for the following guest. And since you may not know who's going to be coming on next, it could be as generic as possible, a question that you would want to ask another chartered accountant.
I think this is a very innovative step, and I would be very happy to write a question. But I
Yeah.
don't know whether this question will be a secret or it will be revealed only when the new guest is going to come in.
It's going to be a secret on this episode, but on the next episode, it'll be revealed. It'll also be great if you could sign off with your name. Thank you so much for this. And we're going to have our next section, our next segment, which is going to be Beyond Balance Sheets. So I'm going to dive into the fun segment, which is called Beyond the Balance Sheet, and get to know your fun, quirky side, along with being a digital professional that you are. So, any quirky hobbies that you have?
Well, I used to have a very strange hobby. Again, I don't know whether it's a funny side or not. So I will tell you about two hobbies. I like to sing, little when I'm all by myself.
Okay.
And I used to play with numbers.
Oh, you play with numbers.
So I used to, travel, on a car or wherever I'm going, and there was a truck coming in front, and there were 4 numbers in front of that, and I used to start counting that. So there is a game which I used to play mentally inside me, and I used to enjoy that. It's like, let's say, if I give you a very small example, if I say, 32, so I add a 4 to it to make it 9, so it becomes 3 to 4, I divide by 3, and finally it came to number 1. So if I go with this example, and you might say, oh, this is a maths guy. So it was 108, it was 36, it is 12, it is becoming 4. And then I add 5 to it, becoming 45, then becoming 15, then 54. You're getting bored.
No, I'm not getting bored. I'm just thinking that
how fast it is.
How fast, and you've been a numbers person all your life.
Yes. So it's becoming 5, and then you're adding 4 to it, becoming 54, 18, 6, 2, and then adding 7 to it, becoming 27, then 9, 3, 1. So at any point of time, whether you take any number, if you start adding anything to make it 9, and then start dividing it, it becomes a long exercise. When you take a 4-digit number, it takes hours to solve it.
Yeah.
So I used to enjoy that as my exercise.
And I guess that's how your love for numbers and finance all started
So
off.
at times where I quickly go to a person and say, hey, what is 69 plus 42? And they look at me and say, wow.
So you're a walking, talking calculator.
Kind of.
Okay, that's interesting. And now you have written a book, right? And it's based on a character, and then you evolve your story around that character. So if your book was made into a movie, who would you want your main character to be played by? Would you want to star in that role?
No, I will take a person who is again someone who is really unorganized, someone who is from a very remote place.
Okay.
I will definitely take that as a person, and any star could have done that character. I think it depends on the budget of the movie, depends on how big we want to take it forward. But yes, that role can be played by anyone. But the character of that book should be someone who is a very typical, traditional chartered accountant who is mentally blocked, and the world is behind those chairs and table, and not beyond that.
Correct. So that's nice. I like the fact that you said that you wanted a real person playing that role rather than an actor, because anyone can play that role.
Yes.
That's nice. That's nice. So I have a couple more questions which I would love to ask you. And beyond the finance world, if you could switch your career, would you ever do that?
Absolutely. I'm running my own startup. So now, so that's just like you are having this, coffee show.
Yeah.
I have converted this finance into a story.
Okay.
So we have a project called Visual Story.
Oh.
And this is, again, I'm a founder of that project, Visual Story. And basically what it does, it actually, so what is happening? You have to understand the new generations and the way they think and the way they react. So if you go back to them and give them a tax audit report, you give them a GST report, you give them a statutory audit report, what do you think they will do with that? Nothing. They'll just take it, all right, this is done, great. And they'll keep it on the side. They'll sign it and give it back to you.
Correct.
But if you convert this data, this financial data, into a story where they can relate, they can compare what had happened in last 3 years, they can see those graphs, they can see those plotters. So if you can convert those data into a story where you can go back to them and say, I'm making them so easy for you to understand your finance. I'm making it so easy for you to understand what should be the ideal percentage for you.
Correct.
How much should be your gross profit? What should be your labor percentage? How much percent of revenue you should spend on your selling and advertising as per your industry and what you are doing today? Which means that if your industry is at 8% and you are spending 12%, there's something wrong over there. Or if you're spending 4% and still you are having to add 15% year over year growth, I think you are doing extremely good. This is what accounting needs to do, and this is what this startup is doing, which is connecting with all this cloud accounting software and is building those dashboards automatically without any technical brain. And that is the project which we have started. And we are taking it to the entire world, and we are going to say, let your financials tell a story.
That's nice. So I have another question for you. It's going to be my last question.
Okay.
So you've achieved so much, but I would like for you to dream a little more. What is pending for you to achieve?
I think what is pending for me to achieve is more authority to change. At times I feel that the voice should go from the top, and if you want to bring change, you need to be at that position, and that's my dream. That's the reason why I'm at the regional council, and I think a lot can be done. A lot can be done, and people are looking forward to it, and everyone is anxious to bring that change. There is a huge challenge in the profession, and the entire world is looking for us. And it's time now that we really need to buckle our belts, change our mindset, get out of the comfort zone, and go back to the world and say, we are there for you. So
that's interesting.
That's the community, and that's the profession I want to build. I want to work on that. I want to play a role on that. So that's the dream which I'm working on today.
Thank you so much, Sanjibji, for this entire conversation, and it's been great learning and understanding the person that you are behind just the two initials CA. And as a token of appreciation for being on the show, we'd love to give you this from our side.
Thank you so much for inviting. I think that's great. Thank you so much.